I still need to acquire clients to grow. So what's my client acquisition system? And for most people, they don't think about it this way, but I encourage them to, and that's, you want to think about fishing in two ponds initially. Stranger pond, which is all the prospecting, and then the relationship pond of all the relationships you've built up to this point. And what you want to do over time is, if you do this right with referrals and building networks, you won't need to ever fish in the stranger pond again if you do this pond right. So if you get this right, so of the two, get this one right. In fact, most people automate the other one, but they don't automate the relationship pond. And that's the one we're going to catch the most and largest fish. So that's system two. And then the third system is whatever you call running the business. It's the operational part. And in this growth stage, it's so critical to get those three in place in that phase. How does that sound in terms of the way you guys coach people, just for the,
completely aligned, and just working backwards, because you covered a lot of ground there. The systems, your way, is what makes it all sustainable, but also competitor proofs the client and gets out in front of their evolving needs so that total client engagement is inevitable. So the advisor is not chasing new business from within. They deserve it. I was acquainted a long time ago with the origins of the word deserve. It stems from the words to serve, from service. If you want referrals, you must deserve them based on the service you provide. So I love that. But something occurred to me, because you said something that was quite enlightened. And what occurred to me is, when the advisor realizes that they're no longer a hunter, they're a farmer, maintaining and nurturing what they've got, because there's so much more equity there. It occurred to me that there are some environments in this sector that don't even encourage that, because they want you to eat what you kill. They want you to just go out and acquire new clients. And so I'm wondering, the industry has matured so much from the concept of working in the business, transacting, to working on the business, but making an advisor just being mindful of making sure they're in the right environment that is conducive to that pond that you're acknowledging there is key. And then the last thing I wanted to say, and this goes back to what you were originally referencing in your backstory, like we always say, we want the business to serve your life. A big part of balance is have fun, but it's the work that gives the fun meaning. If it's all fun, then it loses its shine a little bit. But when you find that sweet spot, that's pretty much nirvana. To work, be productive, to be relevant, to have an impact, and earn the right to go out and have a great time in life. That's pretty powerful. So I just wanted to chime in there, because you just got a lot of thoughts percolating there. Yeah, but that's a great sequence of systems that you laid out.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not surprised we're aligned with that. There's two things you said I thought were particularly interesting. One was the whole idea of just the principle of servitude, right? And it comes back, I think it was Deepak Chopra's book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. One was the law of giving. And in essence, this is the one that I think it takes some time and wisdom, and I think age helps with this a lot. Certain things that are not great about aging, but this is one that is. And that is, over time, you realize whatever you want in life, you have to give that. If you want money, you've got to give money. If you want love, you got to give love. And as soon as that button clicks or that light bulb comes on in people, that's when things really start to happen. So you had said that, and it's so true. And it's also true that certain environments emphasize one or the other. And just like it's nirvana when you personally, as a professional or as a human, get to the place in life where you figure out a way to have your cake and eat it too, that's great. But what's great is if you can find a firm that actually has found the art of having it all for you as a menu that you can tap into. And that's one of the greatest things that's happened over the last, in particular, 5 years. We work with 85 acquisition partners, and there's some of them that are just unbelievable now, because they've built out all of the capacity and capabilities to do all of that. So you plug into them And whichever one of those systems you need, or put another way, if you've got 2 out of 3, but you need the third, they'll have that third completely wired and built out for you that you can just plug into. And so selecting a firm is as much an art of alignment of culture and values and what do they have that I need. But we're just on phase 2, which is growth. So you go from survival to growth. Now, usually happens, and I'd say the scoping of this to give people an idea of where might you fit in as you're listening to this podcast. It's growth. You're now somewhere between, say, $500,000 of rev and maybe 2 million of rev, somewhere in that range, maybe between 100 million and 500 million of AUM. And now you're seeing what's possible. You're starting to get a taste of, you're starting to make some money. You're probably doing way too many things you don't want to do, but you're starting to say, hey, I've got something here. And I really don't just want to grow and sell, which is what a percentage do. I'd like to scale this thing. I'd like to build, maybe own a state, maybe own a region, maybe grow nationally. I want to scale this thing. Maybe I think about franchise type of a thing. And so when you think scaling, now you have to add a whole new way of thinking, because what got you to that point is not necessarily what's going to get you to that. So systems are there. Now you've got to have a system around talent acquisition and development. You got to be thinking about G1s versus G2s versus staff versus specialists. You've got to think about that. You've got to think about strategic systems. How do I even block off time and get the right people in my life to think about strategies? Because there's organic growth strategies to scale. There's inorganic. Do I need to build out an M&A department? Do I need to find a firm to help me do that? So the way I think about that scaling stage is you need all the basics of the growth stage, but now you need strategic systems in place as well.